want to know what it is. The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
It's generally people who wake up easily, or who at least have the tendency to wake up, are those inquisitive minds, those people who actually do question things. They do question authority, they do question belief systems, establishments, and the like. Whereas people who are totally, I've come across this, funnily enough, with a fellow truth seeker, someone who's actually totally aware of the corrupt mindset of the government and the corrupt actions of the government. But basically, he is very religious. He's a very religious man, and not saying that that makes him manipulated in any way, but it does. It does make him manipulated in some way, of course, yes. But I'm not saying that his beliefs about or his knowledge about what's going on in the government and such is actually wrong. To the point that I can define spot on. What isn't spot on is the religious aspect, because every single other thing other than Christianity gets denied because it's considered evil by him, and that's where the problem lies, because he closed the door that was previously open by choosing to believe this.
Well, now you've mentioned it, what sort of things doesn't he understand? Because we understand that religions have caused a hell of a lot of problems. We understand that religions have been undertaken by a movement, so to call it, a Zionistic movement. We have a very good picture of that. But as you mentioned, you're someone that's a truth seeker, which for some reason is also a religious person as well. What sort of things doesn't he understand? Where does his thinking stop?
His thinking stops at religion. That's the whole point. Like, for example, let me give you a specific example just to elaborate on that, because obviously, clearly, that is an important issue. If you have, say, for example, a truth-seeking documentary such as Zeitgeist, the movie, or Michael Tazarian, who I believe is one of the absolute, top people of the conspiracy fact movement. Of the truth movement, shall I say? Because obviously the man is very switched on. He's got a lot of good things to say, and I would highly recommend anyone to watch and to listen to what he has to say, because he knows what he's talking about. But anyway, if you would watch something like this, what his general opinion would be is that yes, this and this makes sense. I agree with this and this, but the part where it comes to religion, the fact that Israel is not the Holy Land, the fact that Christianity is not the be-all and end-all, or Muslims, or anything of that kind, but the inner, or shall I say, the higher self is the actual imperative thing that we got to look at, the important thing. So that would be a point where he would actually completely switch. He might even continue watching the documentary or listening to the lecture. He might continue doing all that, but he will look at it with a narrow mind. He won't look at it like, oh, I might actually learn something through what he's saying about religion, because in his mind, he's already found the truth in religion. And a lot of people, you will find that in the truth seeker movement, right? Or shall I say, in the truth seeker movement, there are a lot of Christians. I'm not saying it's predominantly, certainly not, but there are a lot of Christians.
No.
And
yes.
Yeah, and those people, those truth seekers, they are the ones that are most vulnerable to deception because they still attach to one belief system. A proper truth seeker is a free thinker. He's a free thinker on every single aspect of life, whether this be religion, whether this be government conspiracies, whether this be industry, politics, anything. He keeps an open mind on things. That doesn't mean that he hasn't got a belief. It just means that he is not closing doors in his mind because something doesn't sound appealing to him. The truth shall set you free. That is one thing that is in the Bible that I can recite at the top of my head that I would say is absolutely true. But where do we obtain truth? We are being told, religions tell us that truth is being found in synagogues, in mosques, in churches, or through that you can only obtain this kind of truth through Jesus Christ or through Allah or through Moses. But fact of the matter is that all of this lies only and purely within your higher self. And the only way you can access this is by looking within yourself. He who looks outside is asleep, but he who looks inside is awake. This is actually a saying from Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, the turn of the last century. No, sorry, the one before that, the 19th century, the 20th. So yeah, basically, that's what we got to look at. But anyway, to include this is the part of the ignorance that I'm talking about, because we're looking at ignorance from many ways. We have discussed religion. I will obviously now add to this that it's not just religion, but for the people who are not so interested in religion, as well as the people who are interested in religion, for everyone really, the deception has also become obviously the public media, television. That is, it's everywhere. It's everywhere, and it's bringing, the distractions that are there are things like gladiators, football, X Factor, American Pop Idol, all these game shows, all these things that are there designed to literally turn us into stupid zombies. Because I don't watch any television if I can help it. If I ever come across anything that I do witness, then usually I sit there in awe and think to myself, how is it possible that society could get to this level? And I realize just how stupid the programs have become, and it comes as no surprise to me that people are that ignorant to these issues, because they literally watch programs that a 3-year-old wouldn't even find entertaining, or a healthy 3-year-old, shall I say.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about TV is, without even going into the aesthetics of the detail, but the TV within itself, what you actually see is not what you see. And what I mean is there are a sequence of horizontal lines that run across the TV which actually hypnotize you. And I've seen this in a documentary. I can't remember the name of it. But what they say is the reason that not the reason, but everyone has sat there watching TV and said, "Oh, this is rubbish, but ended up watching the whole entire thing. And that's because you are hypnotized. You are hypnotized. The TV's on and it's got flashing images, blah, blah, blah. You were hypnotized. And it's funny because everyone will remember your grandparents or your parents saying, "Oh, you shouldn't watch TV. You shouldn't watch too much TV. Yeah. It will hypnotize you." And it is true to a certain extent. Well, it is completely true, actually. It's kind of funny how these old wives' things come into modern day, and they are true.
In many ways. Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that, that is one part of a TV which is causing the problem. And obviously the other side of it is people believing that it's actually serving a lot of good. And it's amazing, absolutely amazing how the media has this control over the world's information to the extent where they've created another bubble. Like, you've got the people which are in a bubble of ignorance and not really finding out that much truth, or not really touching towards their spirituality or learn anything. And then you have this bubble of these same people that have a lot of money, but also have, endless girls to sleep with, or endless supply of money and drugs and everything. And just to prove how crazy it is, if you go to jail by I don't know, going to jail is going to become a lot easier in the next couple of years. But
that's because the definition of the word crime is being redefined.
yes, laws,
People like us, just to clarify, people like us, we will be classed as terrorists. I think we are already now in some countries.
well, it is treason.
Yeah.
But laws the laws that we live by are constantly changing. And what I'm trying to say is, if you end up in jail and you come out of jail, everyone knows that it's very hard to get a job. It's meant to be very hard to get a job. It's hard to get a job anyway. If you're a criminal, it's even harder. But if you're a footballer and you go to jail and you come out, the media know that you are already good money because you're controversial and you've also got a so-called talent. So most of these footballers get jobs. And, Jerry Barstone played for Newcastle is a great example. A most previous one, a guy called Marlon King. I won't go into detail about him. That's not what we're talking about. But he has come out of jail and he's got himself a job. He's back in football. A club has signed him up, and he's on. No, as a footballer, he's going to be on 10,000 a week.
I see. 10,000 a week. That's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, which is a lot of money. So what you've got,
you could say that's 500,000 a year.
Yeah. So within this other bubble that exists, you've got a lot of people which are being paid a lot of money to keep the other bubble ignorant to the truth. And that is why footballers get paid so much money.
Let's not forget the other thing. Everyone wants their 15 minutes of fame nowadays. So now, what have we got? What have we got? Jeremy Kyle.
Jerry
Springer. Big Brother, which is, how many years now in every single country? I think, thankfully, it's actually stopped this year.
X Factor as well.
And we already mentioned that, X Factor, yes. That's right. The thing is, their 15 minutes of fame, people don't care how silly they look and how ridiculous they make themselves out to be, how idiotic they come across, whichever. As long as they're on television, they don't care anymore if it's bad or positive or negative attention, as long as there's attention. And the fact of the matter is, people get paid a lot of money to be on these programs, considering the fact, I'm not going to say they get paid hundreds of thousands or millions, maybe if they win the show, but they do get paid, I believe they get paid a fairly decent salary, if you want to call it that, for being on Big Brother. Now, the thing is, a lot of these people then come out of the Big Brother house, then they get interviewed by the press. Each interview brings them a few thousand. You know what I mean? And before you know it, they stay in the press for so and so long. Maybe some of them stay in the press for, I don't know, a week or two. Others stay in the press for a few years.
Yeah.
Others develop careers.
They do.
You know what I mean? And let's just analyze this a minute. You know what I mean? Whether this be 15 minutes of fame or 15 years of fame, but people yearn for that. People want this.
They do.
Because to them, the television has become the be-all and end-all. Yeah, what the television says has to be done. We have to eat according to the television. We have to drink according to the television. We have to have sex according to the television. We have to raise our children according to the television. Yeah? So before you know it, right, what is the point in independent thought? Because the television does it all for us, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. You've got your ignorance there. You know what I mean? I don't need to think because the television already told me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's crazy.
And the funny thing is, because, it's within this conversation, it would be very easy for someone to turn around and say, well, the TV offers a lot of variety. I don't see what the problem is. Well,
does it really, though?
Well, it doesn't, because that variety is coming from...
So you got 500 channels, yeah? You have something like, 200 shopping channels that are all selling different products, but all in the same way.
No, it's worse than that. You've got to look at
sports channels, like 50 of those, 50 music channels. Then you have entertainment channels, kids channels, but you don't have realistically. I used to have cable package, and I will say this: the educational material that's actually useful on these channels, and I had the full package. I recall many years ago, quite a few years ago. It was minimal. It was absolutely pathetic, and the educational material that was there, was marginally educational. You know what I mean? It's pathetic because you don't get programs where the truth is spoken. You know what I mean? You get nowadays, I must admit, you get on certain channels that are a little bit more liberal and a little bit more outspoken. You might get the odd bit of sense now and again, the odd 5 minutes interlude. But fact of the matter is, it's very, very rare. I'm hoping it's going to be on the increase due to the collective awakening that we are all anticipating, hopefully.
Yeah.
But at the moment, as it stands, it's still very, very minimal.
Yeah,